We are live on Facebook. What is happening, people? Thank you so much for tuning in and being a part of this. Today I feel great, got amazing sleep. The last couple days have been a little bit off, but I had to continue on with these videos. What I want to talk about today is the dead zone of relationships. And the reason why I want to talk about this is because there are so many men that have started to sign up on our different courses, which is really cool. In the last, basically since 2012, we've been getting a lot of married men, guys in relationships, guys who are looking for all the different things that happen in a relationship that can be confusing and tough and challenging, signing up on our different memberships, whether that's TSL Online or our Men's Development Excellence Program. It's just a great group of guys. But one thing that we are dedicated towards is sharing the real story of man, of the journey of that. And I know there are more people on my Facebook that are men and women and so on that that look at this feed. And again, the reason why I'm doing these videos is mainly because I have so many friends in the recovery communities. I have so many friends in the dating and seduction communities, in the different coaching communities. I have so many friends that are, of course, a part of the jiu-jitsu communities, the Wim Hof and so on. And I just want to send a message of the different things that I do, and the different things that we work with each other, because it's such a great thing. Man, it is awesome. Because when you have the real story and you have a collective of men working together, and they're not lying, and they're not posting an image, and they're not posting something to look good or hold a frame to be a great coach, so they don't want to look bad to the masses or whatever, man, you get the truth. And when you get the truth, you can find out the answers that make you happy. Very, very important. So what I want to talk about today is relationships, and the reason for that is we've had two guys in the last week sign up for our Men's Development Excellence membership, and I'll put a link down below once the live feed is done on what exactly that is. But also there's free groups too. And also today I posted a Daily Awesome podcast on fatherhood that kind of ties into all of that, and I'll post links on that as well. But they've been asking this question, and they come into our groups saying this, and I can relate with this. Most actually don't have an answer for you that you can do, because you got to figure it out for yourself. But we have a community that can help you, of men that are experienced and who have the wisdom, who've gone through it. And they say things like, man, I've been married for a few years. We've stopped having sex. Our relationship is monotonous. A lot of guys that have been signed up lately don't say they have contempt or anything like that for their wife, but that can happen. And it just feels like we're partners. It just feels like we're teammates. It just feels like something's missing, and there's something about that masculinity, that chasing, that sexual drive that I feel I'm missing out on, and it's just so frustrating. It's just such a crazy internal game that people that fall into. And I'll tell you for myself, as soon as they email me and sign up, I'm like, man, I'm right there with you. I know exactly what you're talking about. My relationship with Maria is amazing. I love it. It's great. It's a great journey. But in order to find out that it's a great journey, I need to not rely on the spamming out of masculinity voices, especially that we hear from like the men's development or seduction industry, because there's so many fucking liars in that thing. I need to rely on older men with wisdom. I need to rely on men in their 50s, 60s, 70s who've been married, who've had relationships, who've gone past those tough times, and who've bailed out at certain times and then found a new relationship or stayed single or whatever it is. But I need to hear and listen to and shape myself, not on guys holding on to this archetype of masculinity that just says like, oh yeah, you got to be tough and hold a frame and be a man and blah 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 blah. This is bullshit. This is bullshit. Now it's so funny because one of my friends, I was talking to him about a year ago, and he was telling me about his problems with his marriage, and I'm like, man, I have those same things. I mean, the best answer I got is that I go out and I hang out with the boys, I talk some shit, and I align with my men's group, and I tap into that wisdom of how to get through it and how to be your best self at all times. See, the interesting thing is, let me just tangent off for this a second. If we're always trying to fit an archetype or image, if we're always chasing something that we should be, then we never are what we are. Does this make sense to you? Right? So if we're always chasing something like, oh my God, I'm not good enough, or I don't have we're teammates. Me and my wife are teammates. Or my wife and I are teammates with some things, but in other things we're not doing well with, and we're not having sex, and then we fight about this and that and blah, 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 blah. If we think that that is so bad that we have to change to be something else, now don't get me wrong, that can be bad. That's not ideal. That could be something that you do want to change, but you have to look within yourself. And if we're always looking to the next great thing or whatever, man, we will never, never be able to stand on our ground, because it's not our ground anymore, it's someone else's. And what do we do when we're playing an image, when we're playing a role, and the stage is taken out from under us and real life comes into play? That's how you get lost, that's how you get fucked, man. I can't tell you how many coaches, how many seduction coaches, dating coaches have hired me in the 11 years that I've been doing stuff, mainly because of my message on sex and relationships. And not to say that I've figured out, right? I'm living it, and I want to live it every day. I don't want to have the absolute of life, happiness, health, or anything right now. I want to have it just for today, because it's got to be worked every day of my life. But that being said, I've hired so many of these guys have hired me. And the thing that always comes up is like, man, I'm in this relationship. And I mean, these are dating coaches. These are guys who get laid plenty. These are guys who have an abundance of all this stuff. These are the guys who are telling you to have the alpha frame of whatever. And they sit there and they say, man, I love my girlfriend, but I just want more. And I can't figure out how do I frame this right so she'll listen to me? And I just want to say to him, I was like, man, you can't. And I just remember thinking of this. One guy told me this in 2011. This great guy, still a great coach, excellent coach at what he does. If you want to learn how to approach women, can't talk to a better guy. But in terms of relationships, man, you can't respect these people, right? And he sits there and tells me that he's married and that he is going to divorce his wife because he wants to fuck other people, but he gets angry and upset when she fucks other people. And I remember coming back from this and talking to Jason Savage and going like, man, what the fuck is wrong with these people? You know, because that's just not how it works. And he was saying, is there a frame that I can do that gets her to not fuck other people? Will I fuck other people? Because I can't stop fucking other people. I was like, man, you love your wife? You want to be with her? It's pretty simple. Stop fucking other people, and it sounds like she will too. And then you work on what works. He says, no. You can do more than that. Okay, then show me somebody who has. There's literally like 3, maybe 4 guys of all the people I know that actually pull that off, and that has a lot to do with the extra work they put into it. So I'm sorry I tangented off on that. I get really fired up when it comes to just the misbroadcasting of what a lot of men listen to and think is the truth. But the fact of the matter is that if you're in a relationship with somebody, it's going to be tough. It's going to be challenging. And the longer it goes on, for me, it's about 4 months. And I've had a lot of relationships to kind of figure this out, where the sex drive starts dying down. Now, it doesn't mean we can't have good sex. It's just the novelty of sex goes out the window. It's just that we stop having a sexual relationship or a relationship so built off of the foundation of sex, and now it has to start being other things. And that's what you need for a relationship. Then you get into the longer term. You start going years. And I'll tell you this, man, what was so great about Maria and I is easily the first 18 months, it was so fueled by sex. And it still can be fueled by sex, but that has slowed down and changed in so many ways, especially because we have kids. But there's a certain point, and this is where it comes to the men with wisdom. The guys who are in their 50s, the guys who are in their 60s. You have my friend Bill, who watches these videos, who's a man. He's been married for 30 years. You know, he has kids that are grown. He knows how to be a father. He knows that his intention to be a father may have been flawed or may have been good at times, but the outcome and the result may not have worked out that way. You know, God, there's just so much to it. But when you talk to guys like that, it's like, hey, what's wrong with being a team member? What's wrong with just being a teammate? And what's wrong with, and I know you got maybe you might have the midlife crisis thing, you know, for some of these guys that I've talked to. But so what? Let's talk first, before reacting, before going crazy, before buying a bunch of shit, before tapping into your masculinity by yourself, before tapping into your masculinity by looking at a sales page that's trying to sell you something based off of your pain that's been researched by, you know, countless marketers on why you don't have what you have and you need to take it back and, you know, go join the Rock Penis Collective of whatever. Before that, why don't you integrate with a group of men who've gone through this? Some who've gone through it, some who are going through it, and some who are just getting started in relationships, and start talking to them, because in that you find an amazing relief. And see, here's what it is for me. Because when our sex slowed down, it made me question the same thing. And I'm a pretty sexually fueled guy. And man, even though I've been monogamous for almost 5 years now, I know how easy it is to meet women. I know how easy it is to have good sex. I know that how great it feels to have good sex with a new person. and see them change and give themselves to you, and the beauty of that. And guys, if you're single, or if you're in a certain type of relationship, I guess you could say style type, monogamy, polyamory, you know, those types of things, category, what do we call that? If you're in one where you can sleep around, man, you should be having good sex. There's no excuse why you shouldn't be. TSL podcast. There's so many different things, resources that we have for you, because it's a great thing. It's a beautiful thing. If you're sexually active, you should not be having bad sex. But I know how good that feels. And then we start to get the pressure, and then the kids, and then the demand on so much that's going on, and then we're fighting, and then we're at each other's throats, and then we blame each other because we're so close, and all this different stuff. And I could say a lot about, you know, some of the solutions that I did to help have a greater relationship with my wife. But all that chatter in my head, all that pain, because pain shows us where the problem is, but it doesn't show us the solution. All that chatter in my head doesn't need to be done alone. And it doesn't need to be done with guys who haven't experienced. What it needs is a bedrock of men who've been there and who know how to work. You know, I'll tell you this, man. One of the greatest things that I've done in my life is build this group, to build the TSL Online alumni as well as the Men's Development Excellence alumni. And the reason for that is because when I had a big problem, I turned to those guys. I got all different answers for them, but they all came from experience. These were guys that hired me. These were guys that taught me. Most coaches don't do that. But I built up so many great people. And I don't want to say that. I built a community that helped build up great people. Because all those people that went through their changes and transformations, they did it themselves. I may have been a part of it, but it was them. It's them that lost. It's them that won. And I remember turning to some of these guys like Doc, or, well, I don't want to say all their names because a lot of them like to remain private, or like my friend Mike. These guys all came from different backgrounds who gave me so much advice and so much help on just where to come from when your mind's going a little bit crazy. Because if you're a man and you have a great team with your wife, or if you're a man and you have a great team with your relationships, you sometimes need to just hold on to having that team and not always trying to go back to get those things that maybe your insecurities, that maybe I need to have sex to be a man, that maybe I need to assert myself in different ways. You need to learn other qualities of where you can learn acceptance. I mean, Jesus, there's so many times a day where I make that compromise, and it's great. It's fucking awesome. But there's such a voice from the men's development industry that says, that's a compromise. You're letting a woman step on your toes. You're not powerful enough. You know, men are power because the evolutionary whatever, and they start quoting shit that they've half-assed read and basically using science or some pseudoscience to make a point that gets distorted into whatever they feel. Man, the benefits from my life, and I'll tell you this, which made my family life better, was number one, accepting responsibility for everything. Okay, that means if somebody steps on my toes, that person is an asshole. That person stepped on my toes, but my toe hurts, it's my problem. If my wife does something that rattles my cage, I may not like that about her, but it's my problem to deal with. It is not my problem to blame. When you blame, you can no longer move into your best self because you're not yourself. You're a slave to the blame. Number two, and this is one of the most important things, was that once I took responsibility for myself, I accepted the situation. When I accept my situation, I'm going, man, I have 2 kids with my wife. We have these responsibilities. We have this much money. We have all the shit that everybody fights about. And what is that? What can I do with that? Who am I with that? When I can accept that rather than fight against it and say, man, I should have more money, or man, she should be taking more responsibility, or blah, 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 blah. Acceptance is the key. It is the baseline and foundation for you to be sane, let alone spiritual, let alone have your expression, let alone give all the compassion and love and sex and all those great things. The third thing, which was fundamentally important and which was a massive game changer, because there are these 3 things that are very important. The third thing is I spent more family time. I started having 2 days a week where my family and I go out, we go somewhere. Go to the park, we do whatever, and we just do that. And for me, this is a little bit different because I work all the time. I mean, shit, 3 broadcasts a day. We have our coaching calls. We have calls almost every day of the week. I mean, they're like, I am always working. I love to work. This is my passion. I also love to do jujitsu. I also love to do all these other weird things that I like to do, gardening, or whether it's sitting around and bullshitting with my friends. I love all that time. And so to dedicate, that family time, for maybe 5 hours, twice a week, it's pretty important. That changed a lot. That changed so much for me. And I'll tell you this, because it was funny, because whenever we're men and we're trying to figure out what to do right, we want an immediate result, we want a measurable result. I remember going through and starting to have this family time. I've been doing it for since November. I remember when I started doing it, I was like, okay, we have this family time, and I'm dedicating all this time to spending time with my family and with my wife and so on and all this sort of stuff. And she's gonna be happy, and she was happy. It was great. And then all of a sudden something came up, and she was pissed. And then all of a sudden something came up, and I was pissed. And those fights still happen, but it gives us so much more of a baseline to know who we are, what we are, and to know why we're doing this, because it is important. And when you can get to that, now I'll just say this: if you're having problems with your wife, and like I said, we have a lot of members who have this, who've been talking about this. If you're having a problem being in a relationship, it's always good to spend a little time apart to yourself. That's important. When you get too close, things get screwed up. But it's also important to get back to who you are and what you are. And if you're trying to make a decision alone in your head, you start chasing for different insecurities and different things, and you start getting all Randy Savage and snapping to a Slim Jim. And the real truth that you want to get back to is why you're together. Spend some time together. Don't blame. It does nothing. It does nothing. Like I said, if somebody steps on my toes, sure, they stepped on my toes. They fucked up. But I'm the one with the hurting toe, and I'm the one that has to fix that. And also, accept your situation. Don't try and be bigger than you are. Don't try and be smaller than you are. See who you are right now and be that, because that is reality. And when you have reality, you can be in the now. You can be yourself, and you can see what those things are. Man, feed what it is you value. Grow that. And when you do that, man, you start reaping the rewards. And it may take a while. Nothing of value in life, nothing of beauty in life happens quick. It all happens slowly over time. Health is going to be fed by me eating daily well and using my body well, not just once a week or twice a week. Perspective is going to be fed by surrounding myself with good people, sharing myself with good thoughts, taking care of my brain on a daily basis, not just twice a week or an hour a day or whatever you want to say it. In your relationships, literally one of the most important things in your life, one of the things that I value most, easily, are the people that are surrounded in my life, and that took a long time to build. Because I'll tell you this, is that there's a lot of time in my life when I didn't have good friends, and now I do, and I've had them for a while, but it took a long time, and I didn't even know it happened so slow. I didn't even notice it. It just started to happen. In any case, guys, we do this to tell the real story of man, because man, we have groups where this actually happens. So every Wednesday night we have a call that usually lasts about 4 hours. Last week it lasted 6. Thursday we also have a call on sex and relationships for our upper tier groups. On Saturdays we have a call that is in the morning that is a lot on social dynamics and how to meet people and talk to people, and as well as your personal experiences and expressions through that. We also have a call on sex, on sexual dysfunction. It's a huge part, and so we've built up these groups over time where this happens. And on Sunday we have our marathon call. It starts at noon Austin time, but it literally has a place for everybody around the world. I'm on for the first 2 hours, but last week I was on for 6 hours. This call lasted for, I think, 16 hours last week. It lasted 18 hours the week before that. Every week in March, it lasted over 24 hours or over 20 hours, one day lasting 26 hours. And the way it works is there's just a rotation of different guys in our groups and alumni and different coaches that come onto that call. We're the only people in the world that do this. And this is why for the past 7 years, and I've been coaching for 11, for the past 7 years, we've had this group running nonstop, building up a group of men that build up a community that tell the real story. And man, it is a group that has saved my ass, saved countless people's asses. And if you have a question about life, sex, masculinity, drugs, whatever, meditation, just bettering yourself, I guarantee you we have an answer that we've lived, that we've tried, that we've trued, and that we've made into our reality of life that we can live by, and we can tell you every step of the way. It's a pretty cool thing. I'll put the links for all that stuff down below, but I would say the best place to start is either our free Austin Men's Development group, and if you want to step it up and really, really dive into a group that has a lot of communication with different men, I would go with the MD Excellence. You get that Wednesday call, and you get the Sunday call, and you get a limitless amount of information to be a part of it. In any case, guys, hit me up if you have questions on any of this. Don't be afraid to ask. If you know me personally, if you've been friends with me for years and are afraid to ask a question about, whatever it is that I offer, don't. Man, I have an answer. Not because I'm anything other than me, but just because I've been coaching for a long time and working with guys. And like I said, have this massive community. So don't be afraid to do that. That's what we're here for. In any case, thank you so much for watching, and we'll keep this going. This is Facebook Live number 4, daily. We're doing it. Good stuff. We also have the Daily Awesome. That's every day, on the TSL podcast. That's every day. Talk to you guys soon. Yeah.